Today's part of our Business Spotlight program. I'm with Damian Young. He's the CEO of Zeus Mobility, and they're based in Kildavin in County Carlow. So over to you, Damian. What is it you do, and for how long have you been doing it?
Hi, Kevin. Yeah, as you say, I'm the CEO and founder of Zeus Mobility. We're based down in Carlow, but what we do is we provide what we call micromobility shared services to individuals around cities globally. So we operate in about 60 locations across Europe, UK, and mainland Europe. And people use our vehicles, which are very unique three-wheeled e-scooters, and also we have e-bikes to for last mile transport. So getting from, say, the train station to the place of work, and they use these on a daily basis, and we charge them on a ride basis, so a per ride basis.
Brilliant. Okay. And how long have you been doing this, Damian?
So I suppose my background is very far from micromobility and e-scooters. I came from the world of banking, and I spent 25 years in banking before I left to establish a scaling company out of the APAC region, EMEA and APAC regions, over about 4 or 5 years. So we grew that business. And when I came back to Ireland in 2019, I decided to found Zeus Mobility in response, I suppose, to the growing trend to reduce carbon emissions in cities,
Mm.
to reduce congestion in cities, and to provide an alternative means of transport for that last mile. So established in 2019, and we've been developing and growing the business since then.
Fantastic. So last mile transport, right? Brilliant. And you've been growing over that period of time. What do you attribute your growth to?
So I suppose it is a difficult market. I mean, we started in a place called Heidelberg in Germany, and we deployed 40 e-scooters in Germany as a launch in 2020. And since then, we've grown our active fleet to almost 7,000 vehicles now
Wow.
globally. And I suppose what I put that to really is, I suppose, perseverance, and a lot of ambition in terms of growth over the last number of years, because that's substantial growth in a few short years.
Fabulous.
So I really put it to kind of perseverance, a focus on an end state goal, and a superb team to support me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Brilliant. Well, that's very impressive growth, Damien. So if you had to start from square one in business, what would you do differently?
Well, I suppose the this particular business has got a lot of complex operational requirements involved in it, and I suppose this is not particularly my background from banking. I'm not too sure I would have done things a lot differently, Kevin, and the reason why I say that is because as I've gone along over the last 4 years, myself and the team have learned a significant amount. And that learning has enabled us to implement improvements, implement changes, change direction in terms of how we get to the end state market and so on. So I'm not too sure whether I'd change the approach because it's always hindsight is always a good thing. But what we have done is we've learned an awful lot over the last number of years and have been able to refine our proposition to deliver what we deliver today.
Fantastic, fantastic. Yeah, learning this. We never stop learning, do we? I mean, it's
No.
constant. Um, what again? Maybe just on just going over as an employer. What have been your biggest learnings as an employer since you began in this business? I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, as an employer, I mean, I've always worked obviously with teams, and I've managed teams throughout my career. In my previous life in banking, I managed quite diverse teams, and I suppose in setting up the business, I suppose firstly we did look for kind of like-minded people that would, you know, have significant kind of passion in terms of this business and this industry.
Mm.
So we kind of selected based on on people's, not necessarily their qualifications, but on their approach to business problems and solving problems and so on. So we've very much taken that approach in terms of our recruitment. And what we've done, I suppose, is kind of built a team that has kind of come together in a single goal on what we want to achieve. And each player, I suppose, is playing a little bit of a different role. Now, we have to be conscious as well that, some individuals are very focused on the kind of back end data side of things. Others are very focused on operational things. I think what we've done is we've built a team with a good mix and balance of skills and experience within the industry in order to achieve the overall overarching goals.
So kind of diverse team, but to meet all the different requirements of within the business. Would that be
Correct.
fair? Yeah, no, it's absolutely essential these days, and even always was, but it's even more so, I think, now. And the other one, I suppose, is how do you balance your personal life with the demands of running a business?
So not the easiest thing to do, and particularly with an early stage scaling business. The one thing I suppose to bear in mind that when you set up a business and when you start a business, particularly in an industry like this, which is quite demanding, it is never ending. I mean, we operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So there isn't any switch off time for the team or for myself or the business. But obviously, as you go along, you have to kind of balance that, work and your normal life. So what I try to do, and as I said at the start, I live down here in Kildavin. I'm quite deep in the countryside here. And I do try to get out, particularly with my dogs, and ensure that, I get that time outside of the office, outside of thinking of the day to day, at least for an hour or an hour and a half each day, to ensure that I can clear my mind and focus the next day on what is in store for us the next day.
Fantastic. I think it's essential just because if we keep just pushing, we will eventually burn out, no matter,
All
no matter
over.
how physically or mentally fit we are. I think we'll just burn out.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, and just maybe looping back again to employees, what qualities do you look for in employees, and how do you foster a positive and productive work environment?
So I suppose again, as I said, we tend to look for employees with the right attitude, and not necessarily the academic background, although that is obviously an important element. We look for people with the attitude to grow and to be part of the growth of a business. So very much the kind of selection process is the ability for people to be able to think on their own and to solve problems on their own, and to take that business, to share the vision of the business and take that to the next level. So, and I'm really, I'm kind of blessed, I suppose, with the team that we have. They have come together. We are singly aligned in terms of how the business is growing and how it's developing. And each of those team players has their part to play in contributing to the growth of that business.
Brilliant. And like I think you probably covered it, but just fostering a positive and productive work environment. What maybe is there any more detail around how you make that happen?
Yeah, from my days in corporate, I like to travel, and I suppose it took a long time for the company to provide me with that space to travel on business and take control. What we tend to do here is to ensure that the team has an opportunity to see what we're doing on the ground on a regular basis. The team does go out to our various, we operate in about 60 locations, to the various locations. And that can be very, very beneficial in terms of the learning, because they can then appreciate, the on the ground problems that are seen on a day-to-day basis. And it creates that positivity. Then it creates that solution focus. So people that go and see this firsthand on the ground come back with ideas and how do we improve things and how do we change things and how do we make it better for customers? How do we make it better for cities? And I think that helps to inspire individuals, brings a positivity into the business, and again allows it to align with the goals of the company.
Fantastic, fantastic. So maybe just to round up, Damian, what are some of the common misconceptions about running a business, and how do you address them?
I think one of the common misconceptions, particularly when you use the word entrepreneur or a business director or a founder, I think people automatically assume they're very rich, that they've got their own business. It's difficult. I mean, running and building a business is difficult, and success doesn't come overnight to most businesses that are created. So I suppose the common misconception is that it is a lot of hard work, more so than maybe people think that it is, and it isn't always a fast, rewarding journey. So it takes time to build up the business. It takes time to get those wins, and it takes time for those rewards to come flowing through. And I think that has been a misconception of entrepreneurs or business owners by people who haven't been in that space.
Fantastic. Absolutely couldn't agree with you more. Listen, it's been very inspiring, very fantastic. I mean, that rate of growth over such a short period of time is just amazing. So we're absolutely delighted you're able to take time with us today, Damian. And I'm sure our viewers will find it very inspiring. Thanks. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thanks, Kevin. Thank you.